2 weeks ago, Ilarion and I kicked off this process with talking about rites of passage. And we're going to do a little bit more talking about that today. At some point in time, we're going to get into actually facilitating the rites of passage, but we felt that there's some more that we had to cover, so we're going to cover it and get us all prepared to do this because um, it's not a light, just something to throw off and do. It's something that we really should be the centerpiece of ourselves. So I'm going to call upon Ilarion to say a few things and to kick us off in this in our quest to settle ourselves into a new future, a new civilization, a new way of being. So, Ilarion, if you are ready to chat for a bit.
One, I'm come down and can't cut through that to your nine way, your nine kuyach. I said, hello, my other self, which is the way we greet each other every day. And I said, the evening tastes good, which is another way we call each other every day. And I said, I am Unangan. We don't use the word Aleut because that was given to us by our former oppressors. And it means people by the sea. We've been out in the Bering Sea for over 10,000 years and we're still there. And I said, my traditional name is Kuyach. It was given to me by the last Kuyach who was left alive amongst my people when I was 4 years old. And it kind of means like an arm extending out from the body, a carrier of ancient knowledge into modern times, a messenger. And so I've been living the legacy of my name most of my life. I'm now 75. Hello, everyone. I'm glad you're here. Hopefully what we have to share will be useful to you in your life. And what I want to talk about is courage and fear. I've never talked about this before. It's an entirely new dimension, but I am very familiar with it. And so I hope you'll bear with me if I'm not as articulate as I usually am, but I'm going to try. Okay. Well, anyway, the story came to me. I was telling Shariff about this the last time we talked about World War II. And in World War II, there was a soldier in Europe that received a Dear John letter, and he decided that he's going to do something in combat that will kill him. He wanted to die, but he didn't want to kill himself. And so he volunteered for the riskiest assignments that he could get. And he got there and he came back still alive. He survived the first assignment. And so he volunteered again and again and again until he no longer was worried about or thought about his Dear John letter. He just liked the feeling of going out to battle. And scientists were trying to figure out what was going on. They knew that something was going on, that he volunteered time and time again. And what they found was the most addictive drug in the world. And they still use this drug. It's called adrenaline. Most of you or all of you are familiar with what adrenaline is. And he became addicted to having adrenaline because he was so traumatized by the war and the horrors of war that he needs something to make him feel alive. And when he got this adrenaline, he felt alive. And then that coupled with the fact that the military had taught him to dehumanize someone that he would kill. And so they came up with words like chinks and goops and things like that. And so that combined, he got to the point where he could feel nothing. And I mean nothing. And he would just as soon kill a person as not. And he became a ripe combat warrior. And the military uses this all the time because whole societies are caught up in this adrenaline. And we do it every day, and we're not even aware that we're doing that. But that's really true, that we're doing it because of this adrenaline, and it becomes subconscious and becomes normal. So we look at people and say, okay, everybody's normal. But when you think about it, we've had, the Inquisition, where over 20 million women were killed, the Holy Wars, so-called, the World War I, World War II, Korean War, the Vietnam War, all these wars, and the warriors became traumatized in the way that I described this one individual. And they came home with this trauma, and they passed along the trauma behavior to their family. And so no one is unaffected by that. Plus, in our own lives, we've had our own trauma. And very few people understand that it's very easy to traumatize a child. And most of our traumas come from childhood. But women, they've had traumas all their lives because they're living in a very imbalanced society. And this trauma, I mean, I had one woman that came to me. She this was, I think, in Canada, and she was so shocked that her son took to cocaine at 12 years old when she had grown up in a family that was alcoholic. And she said, I'm never going to be an alcoholic ever for my family. And so she didn't. And so she said, how did this happen? My son is addicted this way. And I said, well, how many cups of coffee do you drink? Oh, about 20. How many hours of TV do you see? About 17. How many packs of cigarettes do you smoke? 5. It was this addictive behavior that was passed along until it's here today with everybody. And I don't think that there's anyone that hasn't been traumatized. And so, but the one thing that, while this guy was traumatized, he felt utter and complete fear at what he was experiencing and the horrors that he experienced during war. When you first join the military, you join it, for men. They want to find out what a real man is and all that kind of stuff. And you have that as a teenager, and then they go to war and see the horrors that no one should experience, and they get traumatized by that. And so, but the one thing that that he had that all vets understand, and that is that he wanted to be in the war to protect his buddies. I mean, just almost all vets were saying that. Not because we want to protect the U.S. or any of those grand things. It was very personal. You want to protect your buddies. You want to be there for your buddies. And our society calls them heroes, which they are. But none of them, no vet that came back from war would say they were heroes. They understood why they were in that war and killing people. And so fears coming and I feel from memories of the past brought into this moment, or projections of memories into the future of something that isn't even real, hasn't happened yet. Every place except in the present moment. And in fact, it takes us away from being present in the present moment, which is the very place that from my standpoint, my experience, the divine exists. The divine does not exist in the past or the future. It is now. And the example I give is one that is extreme, but I wanted you to remember it, that there are those in the world that have always had more extreme problems than we did. There's always somebody. And we're called now to find that courage within ourselves, to go to our hearts where the guidance we seek is, and to let what our hearts are telling us guide us in what we're supposed to do. And we have all forgotten what personal authority is about, because we've had the opportunity given the educational systems and what we believe as the way to go is not something that we have had. We've been indoctrinated to let go of personal authority and give it to somebody else. In this case, when you're a child, you give it to your parents or whoever's taking care of you. And then all the way up to postdoctorate degree. Anything less than a postdoctorate degree is inferior. And we've normalized this kind of giving away of personal authority to looking at outside authority. And you wonder why today we are in the mess that we're in the US, for example. And that's really the core reason, is because we are looking outside of ourselves for authority. And we don't look at our own personal authority. So we say, oh, global climate change, that's too big for me to handle. I'll leave that up to the government or whatever it is. And we've given away our personal authority every time that we interact with something that is an issue in our lives. And what this process is calling for is for, we left our heart. That's why, because we've been traumatized, we left our heart because we didn't want to feel the things that we feel during that trauma. And we don't want to go back there. And so we left our hearts, and it results in us not caring about ourselves, not caring about others, not caring about our society, or people in general, or anything in existence that is conscious, and ultimately we lose feeling for Mother Earth. Now, when we leave our hearts, we separate from ourselves. And when we separate from ourselves, we're separating. It's easy then to separate from others and to separate from everything else, including Mother Earth. You know, the elders say nothing is created outside until it's created inside first. So we are criticizing others on the outside because we criticize ourselves first. We have hatred on the outside because we hate ourselves, and we trash the environment because we're trashing ourselves. Nothing is created outside until it's created inside first. And you know, if you want peace or anything like that, you want love in your life, you want peace in your life. The sages always have said this. I'm not telling anything that you don't already know, that to have love in your life, you have to become love. You know, we think about, oh, I have love because I activate it and I do it outside, or I'm thinking love, whatever that is. But it really is something that you become. And same with peace. If you want peace in the world, you have to become peace. This is what the sages always said. And so to do that, if we can hear our hearts, I can tell you from my personal experience, it has love, it has compassion, it has patience, it has empathy, it has all these things that we seek, that that the only way to find it is to get to your heart. But getting to your heart requires courage. And courage, you have to ask yourself, can I do this? Because that courage, when you get to your heart, it's the only place in connection with the divine, and it's the only place where you can exercise your personal authority. And so it tells your mind what you need to do now. And the mind's job is to implement that which your heart is telling you. Now it's reversed completely. The mind is telling the heart what to do. And so we have all the mess in the world that we have today. If you really want change, I think that we have to have the courage to do this work. And that courage requires courage, and that courage comes from actually processing your trauma and letting them go. And so I think I've said enough for now, but hopefully I'll give you some fodder for thinking about what you can think about. Thank you.
Yeah, I wanted to just add a little bit to what you were saying, because some of us have not been raised in loving environments, and some of us have not been raised in natural environments. We don't know what nature is. We don't know what loving is, and so therefore we flounder around on this stuff. Well, while you were talking, I was thinking about the movie. I don't know if you've seen it, Hurt Locker. This is a guy that was uh, uh, dealing with unexploded ordnance in Iraq. and it's like the most dangerous job in the world. And he was the danger junkie, when he went back to live with the normal life with his family, etc. It's like it's like this is foreign. And I know lots of people, like from my background, Camden, New Jersey, the worst city in America. The we the things that people think of as traumatic, we just call normal. If you give a party, of course, two or three people are going to get shot. I mean, if you go to a party, you're going to get shot. And it took me a while to realize that no, this is this is not how the rest of the world works, you know. Um, and so our challenge, and maybe you could say a few words on this, our challenge is not just to say with our mouths, I love myself, I love the earth, I love my family, I love, this, that, and the other, but it doesn't seep in that how do we um, remove the blockage? How do we I'm thinking about, if you've ever, well, if you have a bathroom, you've had it clogged, and if you've ever had a clogged bathroom, this is like one of the most important things in the world. Everything else in your life pales to insignificance. It's like we got to get rid of this clog. And so how do we get to the point that we're unclogged, that we actually can transmit the love, that we actually can receive the love?
Yeah, that's a good question. Uh, you know, uh, I learned what I've learned, most of which was the hard way. I had a lot of traumas as a child, and I got to a point when I was like 12 years old where I realized I don't feel a thing. I would just soon step on a bug as to kill somebody. And thankfully, I had the elders to guide me through uh, that kind of thing. But uh, I felt that to the point where, I joined the military, I joined the Air Force, and I became a pilot. And, I would just as soon kill a person as not. It didn't make any difference to me until in my 20s, I went to a healing conference where they had offered free back massages. And so I decided I'll take that, it's free. So I took it. And when that person massaged my back, I realized that my entire back was numb. I could not feel anything. And from that point on, I decided to go on a healing journey where I did a lot of different things. I took weekly massages. Uh, I attended peer group counseling weekly for a year. I had personal counseling for a year, and I went to sweat lodges regularly. And it was only after that long struggle that I was able to start to break free from the trauma that I experienced as a child. Now, this is why I say it takes real courage to get to a point that you can reach your heart and fully feel what your heart is telling you. And you have to ask yourself, do I have the courage to do what is necessary to process those traumas and let them go? The Hopi Maori say, let go to the side of the riverbank, move toward the center, find those who have done the same and celebrate. What that means is letting go inside the riverbank means letting go of everything, including all your feelings, which keeps us from being present in the moment. Guilt, shame, remorse, anger, rage, jealousy, all these kinds of things, hatred, uh, all these things that are in the past that live with us today, or we're projecting to the future or something that hasn't happened yet. Every place except the proverbial moment where we can reach our hearts and listen to it and do what it tells you. It's going to take courage to do that just to get to the heart. But then once you're at the heart, it's still going to take this courage to do what your heart is telling you. And now as a child, you might have said, I want to be a dancer. And you let that go because of whatever. And then your heart is telling you throughout your life, I need to be a dancer. And you don't do it. Or something that people would think you're crazy to do, like they did with me when I was at the pinnacle of my patriarchy position. I was Commissioner of Commerce and Economic Development for the state of Alaska, the first native to be in that position, and then I dropped it all. I everything. And I wanted to find out for myself, who am I? And when I did that, all my so-called friends left me and I was totally alone. And I had to look at myself. I didn't have my friends to be mirrors of what they perceived to be me. I had to look at myself and say, okay, uh, this is where I'm at. This is what I feel. This is me, not anybody else. And so it does take courage to do what your heart is telling you. And I'm hopeful that some of what I say filters to you so that you find that useful. Now, I come from a tradition where we lay out what we know like on a plate, on a silver platter, and whether or not you pick up anything that I say is up to you, and it's none of my business. Because I can't influence you, only you can influence yourself, and you can decide what it is that you pick up. And I cut myself off from anything about after I lay out things on a platter, then I let it go.
Yeah, I'm laughing because it's touching very close to home here. Um, so what we're going to do, Ilarion and I are going to talk together for a few more minutes. Then at the top of the hour, I'm going to ask you if you collectively have any questions or short comments for us. And then we're going to ask some group questions for you. We're gonna talk about you're going to give you a chance to talk in small groups. Well, we have some questions for you. The thing that I'm curious about, and I had the same experience when I went to college, went to law school, graduated, joined the North Carolina State Bar, practiced law for about 6 years. And the whole time, so on the one hand, this ego thing that says lawyers are really important and they're really smart and they've got power, etc. All of that was feeding this ego side of me. There was a spiritual side of me that wasn't getting fed, although I was going to church. I was raised as an Episcopalian and was first acolyte, and really was try to get into what all of that was saying, getting in, as a teenager talking about transubstantiation, and but it was missing something. These are elements of our lives that are um, solo. Okay. So my church life was here, and the law life was here, and the family life was here, and but none of this was feeding anything. Um, so when I realized how empty I was in practicing law, I quit. I just said, I'm done. I'm not doing this anymore. The number of people that bailed on me was just amazing. People would stop speaking. I mean, like people I'm walking up to on the street, and I'm saying, "Hey, Joe. Hey, Jane," and they don't speak to you anymore. One of my friends said, "You can't leave. I know you're miserable. I know you're not happy. I know that you're dying inside, but so am I, and I can't leave. So if you can leave, I can leave. I can't leave, so that means you can't leave." Good logic. And that's the place. Well, all of the process is me finding myself, is me finding out who I am. I think that this is a continual process. And Ilarion, as you know, you and I have pulled each other off of the walls from time to time. And I have really welcomed and honored having um, a partner, not just in doing these Tuesday chats, but really, how do we move forward as beings on this planet, watching each other's back? Now, some of us on this call, we've been working together to the point that we get to know each other a little bit. And we can say, do you really want to go that way? Do you really want to do this thing? How do we um, how do we move forward with our lives? Um, our challenge, I think, is to for you to be in your heart, but be in your heart while you are interacting with me. I think that you're absolutely correct that we have to be that and also let it go. But be that and also give it a little nudge, like give the boat a push out into the ocean. It's like, you can do this, Uh, I want you to do this. I don't believe that we should raise our children or raise each other or raise ourselves just to be do whatever you feel called to do. Because a lot of people are called to do some crazy stuff. It's like, I want the best for you. Now, you need to say what I'm doing, what I'm proposing, where I'm going is the best. It's the best for me. It's the best for you. We can do that. Um, to hold that and to hold it as a society. We know we are far away from the best right now as a society. We don't even pretend to be operating with any set of morals or any set of values or anything like that. Okay. What we have to do is something really, really different. And we can, we should, and we will. Um, So I don't know if you want to follow up on any of that, or we want to I don't see anybody raising their hands yet. There's a process here. If you want to be recognized, you should raise your digital hand, and you raise your digital hand by going to the the bottom of your window, and in the bottom of your window, you've got a button that says react. And if you click on that, you've got something that says raise your hand, and you get a little hand in your corner like you see in my corner right now. And then you can lower your hand. But when you raise your hand, I see your hands up, and I can recognize you. Or if you don't want to fiddle around with all that, if you wave your meat hand around, I can recognize. I know you're waving your meat hand around, and I'll recognize your meat hand. And if you don't want to wave your meat hand around, if you un if you unmute yourself, I'll see your microphone going on, and I will recognize you that way also. So digits or meat or microphones, one way or another, we'll get to you. So yeah, Ilarion, I don't know if you've got something that you want to follow up on with regard to that. Um, um, if I asked you, and then I said, oh, I got one more thing to say. You were saying earlier about emotions and about what's important and about people getting pulled off sides, people getting, um, you know, the right thing to do and you don't do it. You know the thing that's the moral thing to do and you don't do it. And we need to be um, courageous enough to go against the flow, courageous enough to say, let's do this the way that we think that it can be done or should be done. Um, let's do the right thing, even though it generates fear in our hearts. Um, let's not just go grabbing for the pretty glitter out here. Let's not be ruled by our fear or ruled by our anger or ruled by our disgust to get us to do things that are not in my best interests. We can do something different there.
Yeah. Well, I'm thinking about, for those of you who follow the Christian path, you all know the story about Adam and Eve in Genesis, where God tells Adam and Eve, you can live here and do anything you want except to partake of the tree of knowledge of good and evil, the fruits of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. And they did. They partook of that tree of knowledge of good and evil. And what happened is that we became dual. Duality came into existence because good and evil is a duality. And so we split, and we've gotten to a point where we've lived thousands and thousands of years of duality that we think that that's the way that we need to think: good, bad, right, wrong, Democrat, Republican, whatever it is, it's always duality. And everything that we've created has been created out of duality. When in the universe, the divine does not do duality. The divine unifies those dualities. And that's how the real human, what we call the real human being, has to strive for, is to eliminate that duality until they're unified. So we don't think in those terms of good and bad and right and wrong and all that kind of stuff. We act from our hearts, which is not dual. And that's one of the magical things about our existential heart, is that It is not dual. I can tell you with myself, that's been my experience all my life. And that we need to figure out how we get to a place where we become a real human being in harmony with all that is. And to be in harmony, you have to unify duality.
Unifying duality in our case is bringing somebody else in here. So I see that Jenna is has spotlighted her, has raised her hand. So I am going to bring her in and see if she has something which she wishes to say.
Yes, Ilarion, I really appreciate the story about the Garden of Eden and the tree. It's really created a new perception for me. My question is, do other non-Christian humans across history and in other parts of the world, do they live in duality as well? Or is it just the Christian tradition that's bringing that?
Oh no, both of us can answer that one. Um, Duality is all over the place, and you find, well, I have found it in every religious uh, or wisdom tradition I've encountered in the world, and I've encountered, I'll say most of them. So, Larry, and I don't know if you want to say more on that.
Yeah. Yeah, Jenna, as Shariff said, most of the world is covered with duality because that's the existence that we've had in indoctrination for thousands of years since the Garden of Eden. But there are some cultures, very few of them, around the world that still unifies the duality, and they practice it every day. And they are, well, we call it original instructions. You've heard the word original instruction. That's used by Native Americans and indigenous people across the world. Yeah. We know and follow original instructions.
Well,
and, and this original instructions were given to us all across the world, equal to each other at one point in time, made different only by vibration of the land, the culture, and the language. Other than that, they were the same. But we have many people around the world have forgotten it. And those original instructions are very similar to the Ten Commandments. And so we recognize that these original instructions were given to all of us around the world. And now we're being called by, the elders that I work with. I work with the wisdom weavers of the world. They're called, and they are spiritual elders from all over the world. And they said that we are called now to activate fully these original instructions that were given to us by the divine. And that if we don't, we are going to suffer very, very big and very soon. And that Mother Earth, you notice that she is acting up in her power much more than she did before.
Yes.
Now, Mother Earth, she survived for billions of years, and she's going to survive for billions more. It's a question about whether or not we humans are going to survive, and that depends on whether or not what we do now is in harmony with all that is.
Yeah.
So I have a question.
Well, let me follow up on that for us.
Can I just follow up for a second? Ilarion, how can I find more about the original instructions?
You look it up on the internet.
Okay. I didn't know if it was held, you know, by indigenous people or if it's been shared.
Yeah, well, some people are done by people who don't understand the original instruction, but you will recognize what's real and what isn't real.
And how do I know that it hasn't been doctored, like tampered with by AI or something?
That's
another story for another day. I think that and I've noticed this is true. There are a number of folks coming up now to like, how do you spot deep fakes?
Yeah.
And you know, I have no problem doing that. It's very rare that I get that I'm surprised by what I'm seeing. Um, and I think it can be trained, but you have to know to train yourself to it. And one of the things that you do is by asking yourself, um, what am I seeing right now? And that is something that we generally don't ask ourselves, especially when we're those of us of a certain age where you just believe whatever you see on the screen because it's valid. But I keep saying we're going to talk about that some other day, but and we'll talk about it another day. What I want to follow up on is with uh, in birthing the nation of Gaia. I put in what I think of as 10 universal um, spiritual principles. Okay. And these are coming from every wisdom tradition that I can encounter, that I have encountered. Changing the language around some because um, um, the way that, for example, the concept of inclusivity comes out from a Christian perspective is different in sound from the way it comes out in a Buddhist perspective, but it's the same thing. Okay. So if we can get past my sounds are different from your sounds, then I think that we can begin the process of pulling ourselves together. So this is, let's say, page 33 through 43 or so. And it has to do with gratitude, it has to do with responsibility, it has to do with awakening. It has to do, my first one is love, agape, or metta. Thou shalt love and be loved. Um, I find it just amazingly interesting the number of people who um, can say that they are loving, but they have trouble being loved. I have been one of those people. People, so if somebody say I love you, I appreciate you, I honor you, etc., I make a joke out of it. Okay. Oh yeah, sure, yeah, it happens all the time. And then I move it off to something. I move the subject to something else, something I can deal with, and leave the stuff that I can't. And I have to say, and patting myself on the back, I'm better at that now. I am going to see if there is anyone else putting their hand up. And if not, we are going to ask you a question, all of you. All of you get to answer that question in your small groups. Um, and I think that Ilarion, you have a question that you've thought about for them regarding courage.
Before we get, I would like to answer Jenna more fully. There are certain cultures that maintain the original instruction. So, for example, the Dalai Lama and his followers, they follow the original instruction. And there, you've got to exercise an awareness of what is real and what isn't real. And you will recognize as soon as anything that is not real shows up, you will know it because it violates some thing that is in the original instruction. So love everybody, the things that Shariff is talking about and the guidelines that he has. These are things that are universal. And when they're universal and they're good, that is probably derived from the original instruction. Now, anything that deviates from that, that creates separation of any kind, I'm the only religion, and what I say is going to be true, and you got to listen to me, and there's all that kind of thing going on. That they have deviated from the original instruction, and so anything that does not divide us, and in fact pulls us together, is part of the original instruction. It is something that is in harmony with all that is.
Yeah, I think that I forget who said it. I agree with you about the Dalai Lama and his brand of Tibetan Buddhism. Um, um, Someone was saying that that they believe in the Bible or the Quran or whatever. It's like, yeah, the Bible is cool, the Quran is cool, but there's a Bible in your heart. There's a Quran in your heart. There's a Bhagavad Gita in your heart. And if you're paying attention, you should be hearing that. Okay. And that is, I think, um, um, the if there's a conflict between going on in your heart and what somebody else is telling you about religion, I think you need to ignore them and pay attention to what's happening in your heart. Um,
I agree, Sharif. There are no more gurus in the world. At this point in time, we are all gurus, and our answers are in our hearts. And so you follow, if you're able to get to your heart, follow it. It will let you know what you need to do, where you need to go, and whatever else that you want to distinguish the truth from falsehood or darkness from light. Look at and listen to your heart. It will tell you.
yeah. So I've got us divided into a number of breakout rooms. It looks like there's going to be 3 per breakout room, and I am going to be in room 4, I guess, because that will make that the third, I'll be the third person in that room. But I'm gonna hop around a little bit. I wanna hear what's going on in each of your rooms. Last time we got together, um, Ilarion talked about your gifts, that what we will be doing in the world is actually exercising our gifts. And when we do that, our true heart-driven gifts, and when we do that, we bring more heart into the world. If I'm not paying attention, um, if I'm not paying attention to that, then I begin to think that, oh, my law degree is my gift, or me having $1 billion in the bank account is a gift. And it's like, no, that's not it. So let's talk about what our gifts are and what is the gift that you need to bring out into the world right now. What does the world need from you right now? And you know what the gift is if you start feeling fear when you when you start thinking about exercising it. If when I go into, oh yes, I can do this, I can talk to these people, etc., then I'm not near that gift. If I once I get to the point where things feel very soft and things feel very tender. I watch my emotional content level going up or down. That's when I get closer to that gift. So,
Yeah, Shariff, that was the question that I was going to ask.
ta-da! So, so I'm going to open all the rooms now. We're going to spend 10 minutes in the room. Okay. That's going to give each of you 2 or 3 minutes to talk without stifling anybody else. But I also would ask that you pay attention to the fact that there are other living beings in your room, in the room, who want to be heard, need to be heard, etc., and to have some interaction time there. So let me set my timer now for I'll bring you back in 10 minutes. And I'm opening the rooms now. Okay, did anybody hear anything while you were in the breakout room that you think that everybody in our space should hear? Um, it's we don't have time to have everybody say everything. But if there's something you heard that just kind of strikes you as being worthy of being repeated, that you heard, not that you said. Um,
Well, I thought it was very cool that in the course of our conversation with Charlene, that what we both were feeling was that, that there's many of us doing this work together, that we're all kind of, even though the styles are very different, um, that we're all moving together, and we're through the energy and through our gifts, we're in a very really large murmuration is what I felt and what I heard and what I'm seeing, and that we're all moving through this together. And even though we have different lives, even though we have to avoid obstacles here and there, but and it's bigger than this meditation even, because it's sort of like all the groups that are doing spiritual work, at some level, we're all doing this together, even if we don't know that, even if we don't know them, they're not different, they're not other, that there's some kind of common core here that is really is uniting all of us in doing this work together and bringing the new energies in. And that the most important thing, what I get told is the most important thing is to focus on the new, let the old take care of itself because it's going to be eliminated, that our job is to help bring in the new. And that that's what our focus needs to be, is bring in the new, and that we're all doing this together. One person can't do it, but we're all doing this together, and that it's a lot bigger than we think, you know.
All of that is really true. I want to reiterate one thing. This task is so big that none of us can see the whole thing. And by none, I want to say that means none. Okay. I spend probably the most time focusing on this. And I'm scratching the surface. And so we all are doing what we feel that we can do. I know, and Jen, I'll get you in a second, but I want to give you an image that two people who have been influential in my development. One of them is Steve Piersanti, my publisher for Creating a World That Works for All. Is he has been very influential for me. And the other one is Peter Goldmark, who at the time was the president of the Rockefeller Foundation, and not just gave me $1 million, but which was definitely appreciated, but did that in such a way that I was able to test some theories that were really pressing. I'll tell you the quick Peter Goldmark story. We were talking, and I just asked him, what are you doing? Besides giving out millions of dollars. Um, some of us are old enough to remember the TV show called The Millionaire. Yes, no. Okay. This guy was once a week he'd give $1 million to somebody, just random. And sometimes it helped their lives, sometimes it didn't help their lives. It was really interesting that it was not always a positive thing. But I asked Peter, what do you do? What are you doing? And he says, I feel like I'm dangling from a rope on a rock face. And I've got a chisel and a hammer, and I'm doing a design on this rock face. And I can look in both directions, and there are other people who are chiseling on the same rock face. And every once in a while, I can push away from the rock face and I can look to see if my design is matching up with the people who are closest to me. But there are millions of people on this rock face and they're all chipping away. And hopefully, we're designing something good. Um, and so, yeah, we are each are doing our thing on the rock face here. So Jenna, unmute yourself.
Yeah. I'm going out on a limb here without permission necessarily to share this. But one thing that came up in our group, several of us, was tuning into being a presence and doing sort of the spiritual living spiritual listening to understand better what that means. And it's something relatively new, I think, for us, but of interest.
Mhm.
That's it.
Well, yeah. And one of the things that happens, I mean, we each have a line into the divine. Now, things get squirrely when I think that my line into the divine is better than your line into the divine. Um, or I say that I've been reading a lot of Mary Magdalene's writings about Mary Magdalene and her perpetual battle with Peter um, around whether women should exist or not. And um, yeah, so we can say I can't listen to you because you've got the wrong genitalia. I can't listen to you because you've got the wrong skin color. I can't listen to you because you read the wrong book. All the books are the same, but you read the wrong one, so I can't listen to you. And what we here on this call are doing is um, learning how to move all that clutter aside, learning how to move all the irrelevant stuff aside. Um, and um, there's lots of stuff that will lead us closer, I think, lead us closer to um, our true self, our divinity, our connection, our 100% connection to Mother Earth. And we can strengthen those things in ourselves and with each other, etc. And then there's stuff that gets in the way, and we can minimize that. Um, we're in a time of minimizing it. I'm going to say something before this is just a I want to say something before we have to end for the night. And I usually wait until we have to end for the night and don't get it said. Um, we are not charging for these events, the event this time, the next event next week, the other events. And we're not charging, but it costs money. The Zoom links, the phone lines, the lights that are on, just the whole 9 yards. We definitely appreciate whatever donations that you can make. Um, um, I'd say don't give till it hurts, but give till it tickles a little. Like oops, I felt that one. And I'm going to give you a link right now to do that if you are so inclined. And I guess I'm not going to do it that way. I'll try again. Hmm. And for some reason, it's not working. Um, and I tell you what, this could be the universe saying, no, you're not getting donations today. But I'm going to be putting this, I'm going to figure out how to put this the in the chat message. And if I can't do it, then you won't make donations. And if I can do it, you'll get something. Okay.
And I'd just like to add that it's all donations are tax deductible since it's a nonprofit organization. So you can keep track of them and that money comes back, you know.
Yeah.
So, and it helps all of us. So,
Indeed it does. Um,
especially him. So
well, I mean, there are things that have to happen, okay? And um, yeah, the lights need to be on. Um, and if you don't put them on, I put them on, and it's there. I did it. I finally managed to do it. Who says I'm technically challenged? Um, anyway, so there's a button, and don't be afraid to use it. Um, we've got another 10 minutes or so. Ilarion, I don't know if you've got anything you want to leave us with. I'm also looking at hands going up or down or not moving at all. I heard some of your mouths move when we were in the breakout rooms. I know you can do it, so you can if you wish to. Um, no need to be shy. So I'm not seeing any microphones going on here. Um, um, I remember somebody was saying, well, I was waiting for you to stop talking. I said, yeah, good luck with that. So, so, I did want to say one more thing, and we were talking about um, folks in the adrenaline junkies that are in war, and I probably need to add my own daughter to that list. Um, she is in the U.S. Army. Sergeant Zainab Abdullah. Um, she was accepted into grad school for microbiology with a grant, blew it off, and joined the Army. Um, if I sound like I was really approving of that, I think you should adjust your filters. Um, and not only joined the army, but volunteered for the second most dangerous job in the army. The most dangerous job in the army is infantry. The second most dangerous job, the one that where the second highest fatality rate, is combat medic. She was going out into battlefields, picking up soldiers and body parts and getting them into helicopters to get them back to hospitals. Um, and signed up for 3 tours of Afghanistan doing that. I think that pretty much qualifies as a adrenaline junkie. Um, and I asked her, well, to tell me that she had joined the army, she called me up and said, Shariff, I joined the army and I don't want to talk to you about it. And I said, okay. I just have one question. Um, whose army did you join? I said, we know you don't have a patriotic bone in your body for this country. I said, if you join the Swiss Army, that could be kind of cool, and they give you a free knife, you know. Um, but she assured me that she had joined the U.S. Army. Um, and she So it took a couple of years for us to be able to talk about it. And the way we talk about it is by having a third party. So I say, if this person over here asked you this question, how would you answer them? As opposed to her talking directly to me about it, because that would not work. But she said something that Ilarion said earlier. Um, she said, I don't have I don't care anything about this country. I don't care anything about, you know, politics, or we're going over to Afghanistan to prove anything, etc. Um, the only thing I care about are the soldiers under my command. I would give my life for them, and I know that they would give their life for me. And in our twisted, deviant form, that's what passes for patriotism now. And it's not patriotism. We're going around killing people and she said, I'm going to wherever I get ordered to go. I don't know anything about it. I don't care anything about it. It's like, and the infantry folks are, go over there and drop bombs on those people over there. And it's like, give me the coordinates, you know. Um, we have to move away from that. We can move away from that. We will move away from that. We are moving away from that. And every step we take, we have to take that step out loud. Meaning, when I walk down the street and I tell folks, I am unarmed, I have no need for arms, I got superior arms to you. I don't need a gun when I've got the divine. And they're like, huh? What? But it sinks in. And when I hear that one time, it's like, wow, that's weird. And I hear it 2 times, it's like, oh, goodness. When I hear that 20, 30, 50 times a day, all of a sudden, consciousness flips. And I want to be on the pioneering end of the flip of that consciousness. That's what we are doing. I raised the issue of Steve Piersanti, my publisher, when they published. I got a copy of my book around here somewhere. Act like I'm holding it up. When they published Creating a World That Works for All, Barrett Kohler Publishers changed their motto, changed their slogan for the entire company. And they said, it says on their banner, Barrett Kohler Publishers, creating a world that works for all. And oh, thank you. Now hold it back up. We want to see that. Okay, there you go. um, so um, um, so people have asked him, how are you creating a world that works for all? He says, we create a world that works for all by publishing books, by publishing the right books, by publishing the books that carry us further down a particular path. And somebody else will create a world that works for all by selling ice cream, but selling the really good stuff and selling it in such a way that everybody gets lifted by it, and they share their profits with their employees, and they do other things. So the question is, how do we create a world that works for all living beings? And how do we do that in such a way that we do it out loud? Um, and that doingness outshines anything else that's going on, and outshines all of the distractions, all of the noise, accidental noise and deliberate noise. So how do we get a chance to do that? We're at the top, near the top of the hour. Ilarion, do you want to take the last leg here, or are you complete? Or how do you want to go?
Well, I just want to say thank you all for having the patience and tolerance to listen to us. And I want you to know that if anything that I say resonates with you, it's because I'm only reminding you of what you already know. We all have the answers. We all have our answer. And so just follow it. And thank you for listening to me.
Thank you for being here. Thank all of you for being here. We will be back here next week. We'll take this another step further into the design of our rites of passage. And we'll be looking for the suitable day and time for us to do this as an exercise. Looking forward to it, and may all beings be well. May all beings be secure, and may all beings be happy. Thank you. Talk to you later. Bye.